from the community.
Were people gassed, shot, or murdered in any other way in the camp?
Yeah. Were people gassed, shot, or murdered in some other way in the camp? Or just starved to death?
In my group, they were starved to death while they were sick in late March. But I know now that Jews were shot to death for any reason or any good reason at all. The SS troop which guarded us not only in Santa Ana but in the whole region, there were the most brutal SS troop among all SS. So they were taking as for them a daily play, a daily enjoyment to keep shooting Jews.
How much longer do you think would you have made it until the liberation?
How much longer do you think would you have made it until the liberation? How?
For my person?
In your condition then?
In my condition I was saying minutes before dying process will start. Not hours, minutes. Never mind months or days or months or whatever. It was minutes.
Were you hopeful that you will survive this terrible experience?
Yes. Well, it's a human nature. We always think of we will survive without thinking about it. We do always everything that we will survive because we will have a tomorrow. We go to bed tonight in the view that we have to get up tomorrow and we have to do whatever we have to do. We have to go to school and be there by 8 o'clock, or we have to go to work and be there by 8:30. But this is what we have. Alive, and we will continue living because this is what our duty. This is what we want to do. In the meantime, we can go to the theater, we can enjoy a nice concert. Well, that's part of life.
Question from the community. How was your coming home to Hungary?
Yeah, and how was your coming home to Hungary?
Well, I started walking from the barrack outside Aigen, reached field hospital in Kamarovsky. Over there I learned a little bit more details of which way to walk and how and because I didn't have a compass, I didn't have a map, I was just there in the middle of nowhere. Now how I'm going to get to Budapest? Which way is Budapest? How do you know? So I get some information, and then I was told, it just happened that one of the intelligence officers who was debriefing us before they gave us dinner, he was a Jewish person. And then he gave me an advice. If we walking, he told me which way to go. And then he also told me that the Russians are sort of collecting people for their side to work. And he suggested how to evade that, because we were walking. And it happened that a group of people were coming with a couple of Russian soldiers with them. And then the first soldier saw us five, and he said, okay, you get into the line at the end of the line. And then when we get to the end of the line, I greeted the soldiers over there, hello, and we kept walking without the first soldier knew whether we get into the line or not, because I was already told that this could happen. So I just said, hello, like, how are you, or how is the day? He didn't know what I'm asking because I didn't talk Russian, but I made a gesture and I did that with a smile. And why I did the talking? Because I had German language in middle school as second language. So that was when I was, 12, 13, 14 years of age. And age 19, I still remembered some of the German language, and I was able to beg for food. I was able to tell the people I'm hungry. So I was naturally selected that I will do the talking. And shortly after that, we slept one more night under the stars, but in the field hospital, they gave us a package of food with us. So we had food, and that officer told me that if we walk that way, eventually we will reach a railroad where up to that far, the Russians already are running railroad because their resupply line is already there. So we went over there, and I was able to find out that one particular train will go shortly toward Budapest. And I took upon myself, I didn't buy any ticket, but I boarded the train and I was there. In that train, there was another Russian officer. I explained to him what's our predicament. And then he said, if that's the case, I shouldn't get off the train when the train stops to get food. He will do getting the food and bring it to me and the other people. And this way we were traveling for about 5 days from that. I know exactly, I wrote down the place where I boarded the train because I was writing email every day with an Austrian historian, and he already knew from historical record, Schober, of how far was the rail on that particular day. So this way I know exactly the villages where we passed and where we get on the rail. So, and in the meantime, the rail was going empty toward Budapest to pick up new supplies and stopped many times. And some of the comrades, they figured this is how far they're going to go because their town or village was nearby and they didn't have to go to Budapest. There was only, I was the one out of 5 who went all the way to Budapest.
A question from the community. Is it difficult to talk about this time nowadays?
Is it difficult for you to talk about this time, what happened then, nowadays?
No, it's not only difficult to me, it's my job. Yes, I'm doing this. I tell you what happened. After I get to Budapest and I find out what happened with my family, my mother was killed in Auschwitz. When she was deported, within 2 hours, arriving to Auschwitz, she was dead and cremated. My sister was with her, she survived, and I find out the details from my sister. Find out myself in Budapest with nothing and sick. My father was in Romania in a city. He was waiting for his wife to come home. Naturally, he was waiting. And I went over there and I recuperated in that place. I arrived to that place approximately April 15, and till May 10. May 10 was the first day I was off the bed, and I was seated at the table, and I was given a spoon, and I started to eat some food, and I made a racket with the spoon and the plate because my hand was shaking. I just couldn't lift the spoon. But that was May 10. From there, my recuperation went very fast, and in late June, early July, I decided that I'm going back to Budapest because I have to put my life back together. And I went back to Budapest. I took a job as a mechanic, and I worked, and I earned money, and I put my life together. That was 1944. I worked by December, end of December, I accumulated 1 week worth of vacation. And my sister was married in the town where I was born, and I went to see my sister. It was New Year's Eve. There was a New Year's Eve party. I went over there, and I find a very young girl over there, and I was dancing with her. But after New Year's, I went back to Budapest because that's where my job was, and I had to earn some money to get some food. But then in April, I decided that I worked enough in Budapest. I went back to Paks, and I met the young girl again. And then I find out that she lost her family, she lost her parents, grandparents, sister. She was alone. She had nothing, I had nothing, I was alone. And then we talked a little bit, and then we decided that we can put the two nothing together and try to create something out of it. Married, and by May 2nd we had a wedding. Yeah, long engagement period.
We have 2 more questions.
Where do you think is your home now, in the US or in Hungary?
Where do you think is your home now, in the US or in Hungary?
In the US. In the US. Well, I was in Hungary. Soon we had a child, a young boy, and the communist rules. In the meantime, I completed my education. I earned a degree in engineering, and I worked as an engineer. But I had a son. He was about 9.5 months old, and there was a revolution in Hungary. The border between Hungary and Austria was open, and people were escaping Hungary to get a better life. And I thought that my son will have no chance to be somebody in Hungary while communist rules. And we decided, my wife and me, that we will send him with her cousin to United States. My sister was in United States, and she will raise our son. to be somebody in the United States, there is opportunity to get your dream. She was pregnant in the 9th month on that particular time. And I couldn't ask her that we go also because she was end of 9-month pregnancy. But she was given her son bath for the last time, and as she was toweling him off, he was trying to cry that then he wouldn't able to see his sister, because we were talking that we were going to have a girl. We had a boy, so we must have to have a girl. And then my wife was crying again, and then she said, "Why don't we all go?" I said, "You said it, we're going." And that was evening, and by next morning, 6 o'clock, when the curfew was over, I closed the door behind us. And we came to Austria. She gave birth in Vienna for a little boy. And after the little boy was almost 2 weeks old, we went to United States. And we lived there. My children had the opportunity to be somebody. They had the best education one can have, and without paying anything. Not only that they didn't pay, they received a scholarship because they were able to make the exams with such a high level that the state gave them money to buy the equipment of what they needed in school, the pencil, the eraser, the paper, the books, everything, and tuition free. That's what they got.
One more question. Is it difficult to return to St. Anna for you?
Is it difficult to return to St. Anna for you?
No. Question was it difficult for me? I lived with my wife 57 years, 57 happy years. She passed away because she had a disease which the doctors were saying she contracted in Auschwitz. So she carried that disease from Auschwitz all the way till she was 75 years old. She passed away. I find myself alone. I find a task, arrange her memoirs somehow, because she was constantly writing in a diary. And as I was doing that, I was looking at that my life was saved in Santa Anna. Her name was Anna. And somehow in my mind made a connection. And I said, was my life saved in Santa Anna to be a husband for Anna? And then I realized that my life was saved in Santa Anna, and I didn't say thank you, which is a minimal thing. Say thank you. I contacted the mayor. How? I Googled in Santa Anna, and I find out who is the mayor, what's his address, what his telephone number, what his email address, everything I needed to know. I contacted the mayor. I'm a slave laborer, survivor. I was in Santa Anna, and I would like to say thank you because my life was spared in Santa Anna. I received a very warm welcome. Come and you can say thank you. And I came, this was 2005. He designed the setup. I thought I'm going to go in front of the city council, and for the elected officials representing the population, I will say thank you. The people of Santa Ana saved my life. But the mayor had a different idea. He said, I'm going to go to the school and I'm going to tell that story to the students just like you. And I can say thank you just like I'm saying thank you now. And this is how it started. I find out that I said my story to open ears, and I opened eyes. The students, when they were dismissed from school on that day, they went home and they told their mothers, and the mayor's wife's phone was ringing all afternoon by mothers who were saying that their children came home from the school with that what a day it was. Then I decided that I will repeat that. And since 2005, I'm regularly coming to Santa Ana every year about this time of the year, and I'm telling my stories the same way as I'm telling now. And if we have one more minute, I tell you what happened yesterday. Here in Graz, Schulschwester in Egenberger, I was telling the story for the higher grades and 1 grade below. And while I'm in there, a Schwester comes in and introduces herself. Her name is whatever, I'm not sure. She is the daughter, she is the niece of Maria Lechner. Maria Lechner is the woman who gave me the egg sandwich. And there was another nun who lives in that building. She was in that building ever since she joined the sisterhood of Schulschwester when she was a teenager. During the war, the Nazis said, we don't need Schwesters to teach in schools. We have teachers. And so the Schwesters were let go. She was originally from Risola, so she went home and found domestic work in Santa Ana. And she was working as a domestic, and when we walked by, she was throwing apple through the window. She was working for a couple who were Nazis. They had high job. She invited 2 Jews. She met 2 Jews on the street. She invited them, follow me. And she went to Risola, to the mother's house. And she invited the Jews inside the mother's house and gave her bean salad, kefir bean. And she is living in the school building, and I talked to her yesterday. As a matter of fact, took a new pictures between 2
Last question.
Yeah.
Our last question.
Did you pray while you were in the labor camp?
No.
No. Are you religious now?
How?
Are you religious now?
Not really. That has nothing to do.
Okay, thanks a lot. Wir bedanken uns auch für die Fragen aus der Community. Ihr habt jetzt noch die Möglichkeit, wir dürfen euch jetzt sowieso noch einladen zu einer Mittagsjause. Herr Sandor Vandor wird noch bei uns bleiben, also wenn irgendjemand von euch noch eine Frage hat, etwas von ihm wissen möchte, Foto mit ihm machen möchte, haben wir noch genug Gelegenheit. Wir bedanken uns bei den Kollegen und Kolleginnen aus Bruck an der Mur für die Übermittlung ihrer Fragen. Wir hoffen auch zur Beantwortung beigetragen haben und verabschieden uns nach Bruck an der Mur. I said goodbye to Bruck.
I have one more note, if I have enough time.
Maybe you can just say goodbye to Bruck, to this.
Okay, for them, goodbye, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your questions. And I hope you were satisfied with the answer. Thank you. Hold on, just 1 minute.